What up, guys? James from Bolt Bros here. Packers have released Jaire Alexander, cornerback, two-time Pro Bowler on top of that from their team. So they have let him walk. It's been a player the Chargers have been connected to for quite some time. Do we add another weapon to the cornerback room, or is it already filled out with what we need? Who knows? I'm unsure about this one, but let's go ahead and get into it, guys. Bolt Bros, let's go. Bolt Bros! All right, guys. Once again, appreciate all the love and support. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel if you've not. We appreciate all the love and support, and want to hear from you in the comments below about Jaire Alexander getting let go from the Packers. Now, once again, two-time Pro Bowler. Guys, one of the top cornerbacks in the league. The big knock on him is trying to stay healthy. And that's a big thing that I always think about with the Chargers. And some of the moves that they made is about guys that could be on field and available. Once again, if you're on the sidelines, you're unavailable, you're not a guy that's basically going to contribute enough to the team on field and where it matters most. Now, once again, obviously, you want to pay guys to basically play on the field. So it makes a lot of sense why the Packers would let him go, because he was a phenomenal player, but basically he's had a lot of injuries over the past 2 years, and I could even say further back from that point. I mean, back and shoulder issues limited him to 7 games in 2023. A knee issue caused Jaire Alexander to play just 7 games in 2024. You could even go back to even 4 games in 2021 due to a shoulder injury. Did have a full season in 2022. It's just been a lot of issues on injuries for him, and they paid him a good amount of money too on top of that. And so they kind of looked at it like, hey, if we let him go, we'll save some cash, and we could kind of move on, and we got guys that could fill in the gaps at this point. It was interesting. Even the GM for the Packers said, hey, we've been used to not having him on the field. So it's kind of like, you know, what is the saying? Something to the effect of your best availability is okay, I screwed that one up. Anyways, basically not being available is not going to help him at all. Being on the sidelines is not helping him enough. They need him to be on the field. And once again, he cannot stay healthy, period. And so that's a big thing that's going on with Jaire Alexander. So letting him go allows him to go anywhere he wants to go at this point. Now, he's going to have a million different options out there to choose what team he wants to play on. And to be honest, you might be able to get him at a pretty cheap price too. Apparently, some of the reports were that they did offer him a 1-year kind of restructured contract that he did decline with the Packers. So he is maybe really looking to be able to get a big contract still. I mean, he was slated to get about $24.7 million, I believe, this upcoming season, which obviously did not happen. I guess the offer that the Packers did provide for him was a reduced incentive-laden deal that would allow him to be a free agent after the 2025 season. So he didn't like the structure. He declined it, and he said, hey, let me just go in free market at this point. Now, who's going to overpay for him? I mean, this is kind of a weird time of the year where it's not a lot of teams that have a lot of money, because obviously the free agency market kind of went out and everything too. And, they spend all their money at that side. I mean, but the Chargers do have a little bit of coin that they can spend. Now, they do also have the Rashawn Slater extension. If they're going to do it this year, this would be a good year to get it done and locked up for him. And obviously with tomorrow basically being the OTA's mandatory camp, you'd hope to be able to see some sort of movement or structure, at least to see Rashawn Slater in camp with the team tomorrow, and hopefully get some sort of talks with the extension established. But back to Jaire Alexander, do we really need him on this team? Well, I mean, think about what we did in the offseason. Going back to free agency, we signed Donte Jackson. We ended up signing Benjamin St-Juste also to the teams. We ended up drafting Triquez Bridges too. You got a pretty filled out cornerback room, obviously with Cam Hart, Tarheeb Still, Jasir Taylor, Dean Leonard. There's a lot of guys in there. There's give or take about, you're almost about 8 to 9 cornerbacks at this point. And also Nico Reed has been showing out a little bit too in camp too. So do you bring in a guy like that? And then obviously you have to let go another player because to keep it to a 90-man roster going into the camp. And then obviously at some point you got to get to the 53-man roster. Where do you make the cuts? Where do you make the changes? Obviously you got to think about special teams too at this point. I know other thing too, Cam Hart's been kind of dealing with some injury issues. If that's a point of concern, that's where maybe you might want to bring in a Jaire Alexander, but also has had some injury issues. I'm not sure where it would fit at this point, but I know once again there's been a lot of connections with him. Now, who he is as a player, there is no doubt he's one of the top cornerbacks in the league. And this popped up actually on my Facebook earlier today. Per John Kosko, PFF has a top 10 cornerback rankings and putting Jaire Alexander at 9. And that's even with him not being on the field all the time. He was still very limited and still is up there with some of the top cornerbacks in the league, putting him at number 9 in the top 10 cornerbacks in the league. You would like to have a guy like that, right? But you want to have that guy to be able to be on the field, right? Being available is the best thing you could possibly be. And if you're unavailable, you're just kind of, a guy on the sidelines, rah, 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 and everybody out there too. So bottom line, does it make sense to get a guy out here that can be a top 10 cornerback and a guy that can be maybe a little bit more stability to the cornerback room? I do know that's once again, they end up signing a Donte Jackson, Benjamin St. Juste to hopefully get these guys to be able to be more depth in the cornerback room. But now you can kind of put a top 10 type cornerback in the room with a Jaire Alexander. So what's your thoughts on that? Do you think Jaire Alexander would be a good choice in addition to this team? Now, I did kind of want to just briefly go over kind of where his contract was and kind of what happened at the post June 1st type cut. Now, basically, he was looking at $24.636 million cap hit towards the Packers. Now, with them cutting him, they save $17.117 million, and they only get a dead money cap hit of $7.5 million. So essentially $7.5 million is going to Jaire Alexander at this point. Now, he's getting $7.5 million regardless. If he does anything this year, he doesn't even sign with anybody this year. He's got that on the books. Now, sometimes when these big vets get let go, they're more willing to basically go out and sign a smaller contract. Now, what does that smaller contract look like? 4 million, 5 million, 6 million? Is he going to want to be able to try to get to his 24.6 million? I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if many people will sign that. But once again, maybe he kind of looked at it like, hey, the Packers aren't going to be the team to get me to that point. Maybe there's going to be another team that could get me to a deeper playoff run, Super Bowl, yada, yada, yada. Who knows? But bottom line, there is a chance that he might be able to willingly sign to a team for less money just because the opportunity is much higher there. So, you got to think about that. Is the Chargers one of those teams that you could say, hey, look, are you going to be able to get to a Super Bowl this year? I'm sure that's what he's thinking in his head. Don't go out there and discount saying the Chiefs find some way to basically get him signed over there. I don't know what salary cap situations they got over there, but I don't think it's that good from what I'm remembering from the past. So who knows? It'll be interesting to see where he ends up landing and what type of contract he signs. Now go and think about like the Russell Wilson contract last year that he ended up signing, with the Steelers. He basically got a base salary because he's getting paid a ton of money from the Broncos. Maybe it's going to be a certain situation like this again, where Jaire Alexander will sign with the team because he thinks the opportunity is much higher there. Maybe a Super Bowl potentially contender type team. So who knows? But bottom line, Jaire Alexander, what's your thoughts on that, guys? Will he come to the Chargers? Does he have a position here with the Chargers? Maybe my opinion, if you're going to throw out there as Cam Hart, Tarheeb Still as your cornerbacks, or say Donte Jackson, maybe throw him in more of a slot kind of guy for us. I think that'd be interesting to see. Now, Tarheeb, I think could be a very, very good outside cornerbacks, and I think he's shown that he's that guy. But Donte Jackson's also one of those guys that can actually go out there and get a lot of interceptions too. It'll be interesting to see where they end up going with this one if the Chargers do end up signing him. So what is your guys' thoughts about Jaire Alexander potentially coming to the Chargers as a free agent post June 1st? Now, once again, we all know Chef Ortiz loves to cook, and he likes to keep finding every which way he can basically add more talent to this team. So is this another player he would target? So once again, I want to hear from you in the comments below. Your thoughts, Jaire Alexander to the Chargers. What's your thoughts on that? And do you think it's a possibility? So once again, like this video, subscribe to this channel if you've not. Appreciate all the love and support, guys. And once again, James from Bolt Bros Let's go.
Hey, what's up? Cameron Dick here watching Bolt Bros podcast. Let's go.